what's your blood type?
Do you have any idea where the concept comes from?
Have you ever been curious about how the test determines someone's blood type is made?
No? Then come with us. We'll show you everything. People's erythrocytes, also called RBCs, as in red blood cells, are not equal. There are different antigens on their surfaces, which distinguishes them from one another. Antigens are substances who have the capacity to induce an immunological response in our body. This response culminates in the production of antibodies, who are the blood proteins responsible for attacking the antigens. Our blood cells are naturally revested with their own antigens, and the serum has antibodies against antigens from other erythrocytes.
People that have the A-type blood have a kind of antigen in their surface that is different than the B-type. People that have the AB-type blood have the both antigens in their surface, like the A-type of antigen and the B-type of antigen. And people that have the O-type of blood doesn't have any antigen in the surface of the erythrocytes. The system that I was explaining before, it's called ABO system. There is another system, it's called RA system, and it is classified by the presence or absence of the protein D. The blood that is considered RA positive have the antigen called protein D in their surface, and the erythrocytes of people that's considered Rh negative doesn't have any antigen in their surface.
A person that has blood type A cannot donate blood to a person that has blood type B, and vice versa, because, for instance, this person has anti-B antibodies in their blood, and this person has erythrocytes revested with antigen B. If a person that has an antibody against a certain antigen receives blood from people who have that antigen, it will create an immunologic response that can cause hemolysis or agglutination. So, an incompatible blood transfusion can lead to the patient's death.
The origin of the arrows represents the donated blood, and the tip represents the receptor. If we look to AB blood, we can see that it doesn't have any bolts going out of this kind of blood, because as it has the B antigen, it can donate to type A, and it also has the A antigen, so it can donate to B type. And the type O has antibodies anti-A and anti-B, so it also can't receive of the AB type. That's why we can call the AB type universal receptor. By the other way, the O type doesn't have any antigen in the surface of their RBCs, so it can donate to any other kind of blood. And because of that, we can call it universal donor.
There are two kinds of blood typing tests, the direct method and the indirect method. The direct method is the simplest one. It is called direct because it detects the presence of the antigens A, B, and D in the surface of the erythrocytes. Now, to understand the indirect method, we must apprehend that the body develops antibodies against antigens that are strange to it. For instance, an individual that has type A erythrocytes will process antibodies anti-B because it is a kind of antigen that they don't possess. So the antibody consider it strange and attack it. That way, the person who has erythrocytes type B will also have antibodies anti-A. Hence, a person with erythrocytes type AB won't have antibodies against any kind, since their erythrocytes are revested with both antigens A and B. So neither of them is recognized as strange. In consequence, the type O erythrocytes have both anti-A and anti-B antibodies. This typing method is called indirect because it searches for antibodies in the serum instead of the antigens present in the erythrocytes.
In pathology, it's necessary attention with biosafety. Biosafety is a set of practices that ensure the well-being of the patient and of the pathologist, and the correct execution of the activity. In blood sampling, the cases that should be followed by the pathologist are: use a lead white coat, preferably with long sleeves. Hold her hair with something. Wear pants and closed shoes. Wear gloves and before putting them, wash. To do the blood type test, it's necessary before to the blood sample, which can be done in two ways: the venous puncture or the capillary puncture. The venous puncture is the most common way of blood sampling. The materials used are tourniquet, vacuum tube, adapter, syringe or needle, alcohol, cotton, and bandage. First, the agent prepares the tourniquet at the arm of the patient to find the best place to insert the vein. After that, the pathologist should remove the tourniquet and rubbing alcohol with cotton in the area that will be the insertion. So, she has to wait until the alcohol be dry. Meanwhile, the agent opens the material, showing the patient, and engages the needle to the adapter. Tourniquet the patient's arm about 3 fingers up the puncture site. Insert the needle into the vein and connect the vacuum tube into the adapter. Expect blood fills the tube. After that, first the tourniquet is removed, second the tube, and finally the syringe already putting in the place a cotton. After some seconds, she removes the cotton and puts the bandage. The syringe should be discarded in sharp and cutting trash. The capillary puncture is made with a characteristic incision on the fingertip. The materials used are alcohol 70%, cotton, and menthol. First, the patient chooses anything. Then, this fingertip is cleaned with alcohol 70% and cotton. While the pathologist waits for it to dry, she can open the packing of the sterile lentil. The incision is made. Then, the pathologist uses the blood that comes out to put drops on blades. groups ABO and RH can be performed on a blade or a test tube. It can also be used a direct or an indirect method. In the direct method, there is a search for antigens on the surface of red blood cells. When red blood cells are tested against sera known to be endowed with specific antibodies and don't have an interaction between the red cells and the antibody, can be assumed that these cells don't present the antigen against which the antibody is directed. Conversely, agglutination assumes that the red blood cells have the antigen in question. In the indirect method, there are antibodies in the patient's serum against antigens present on the surface of red blood cells previously prepared. To perform the direct method in a blade, simply place a drop of blood on each end of a microscope blade. After that, you have to place a drop of anti-A serum, other drop of anti-B serum, and other drop of anti-B serum next to those blood drops. Then, the drops have to be mixed with separate sticks .
The determination of blood groups has importance in various sciences. In hematology therapy, it becomes necessary to study at least some of these systems on each individual to ensure the success of transfusions. In obstetrics, gynecology, and neonatology, it is possible to diagnose HDN through their study, adopting preventive and curative measures. In anthropology, it is possible to study various breeds and their evolutionary interrelationships by analyzing the population distribution of various antigens, determining their prevalence in each race and making